Okay, I may lose a few subs after this, or knowing the way YouTube is gained a lot of subs. But this whole thing with William Cardinal and the comments I've received since, people saying that what he said wasn't offensive, it wasn't that bad, it was his sincere beliefs. That he believes that he was doing the right thing. You know, Ignoring the fact that what Greg did was badly timed, and this is not the time to be doing this kind of thing. Not insinuating that he's in hell and whatnot. And yes, that's precisely what he did, especially with his last statement. You know, all that aside, I want to talk about a bigger issue. This whole idea that what he said wasn't offensive. What he said wasn't wrong. I'm sorry. I get that you guys sincerely believe that people that aren't Christians go to hell, or they're annihilated or whatever you think. I know that you sincerely believe that, for a lot of you, that we're just sinful people and that we need Jesus to be worthy of anything. And don't give me any nonsense if you believe this, been trying to explain it away. I was a Christian, I know it. The real issue here is, yes, your beliefs are fucking offensive. Most non-Christians are to some extent going to find your beliefs offensive. Many have the tact to not say it. Many don't think about it too much. But yes, your beliefs are offensive to a lot of us. And don't ever pretend like what you're saying isn't offensive. You may think it's real. That is not, but if you're wrong, it is the most offensive thing. Even if you're right, it's still offensive. This whole idea that we are sinners and we can never be good enough without loving your God. That by somehow, some miracle, you happen to be just in the right country at the right time to be a Christian. That you somehow managed to luck out when the rest of us, through fluke of birth, or just being too critically thinking, decide we don't believe it, we get sent to hell. 2/3 of this planet, at best, are going to hell because they don't believe in Jesus. I frankly find that offensive, and for many Christians, it goes a lot lower than 2/3. Maybe a lot higher than 2/3 of the planet. You got many that believe Catholics aren't Christian enough to get into heaven. You got many that think Protestants aren't Christian enough, and so on. Your ideas, your beliefs, your attacks on science, your disrespect of science, even some of the more moderate Christians that sit there and try to argue that the Big Bang was caused by God. No, we have no reason to think that. It could be true, but we don't have enough evidence. And the very idea that you have to sit there and keep trying to argue for something we can't possibly know and say it's your way doesn't achieve anything. I can be respectful. I enjoy conversations. I enjoy these debates. I don't necessarily take a whole lot of offense most of the time. But be under no delusion that we do find a lot of the things you guys say and believe offensive. Just as I think many of you conversely find this video offensive, which is okay. But don't sit here and say and act like somehow you're being persecuted or somehow that my being offended is somehow wrong. I have just as much right to be offended as you guys get to be offended of these things. Words hurt. Words have meaning. Beliefs have meaning and they hurt. Ultimately, if Christianity is true, it has a lot of hurtful things in it. There's a whole idea that we're going to hell. There's a whole idea that science is wrong. And that, everything we've come to discover is all an illusion. that this life is just an illusion, that we're just sinners. If there is no God, or at least not your God, these things are extremely offensive. Because you're demeaning people, you're demeaning this life, demeaning all our knowledge, you're demeaning all of our accomplishments for a belief that is wrong. And many of these things don't suddenly become less offensive if God exists. Because the very idea that 2/3 of the planet deserve to go and be tortured for not believing in Him is offensive whether or not He exists. Many of you rationalize this and explain it away. Fine. That's perfectly understandable. We all go through it. But don't then get surprised when we don't accept your ideas on this. I don't know. Sorry I'm rambling and a bit angry, but this whole reaction where people are getting defensive and acting as if what Greg did was somehow not offensive. Speaking ill of the dead days after he died, particularly to many people that don't believe he's in hell, or don't believe in heaven or hell, any of these things, saying that he is most likely there and that God somehow should have mercy on his soul, even though most Christians believe there is no mercy for him now that he is dead. Have some respect for people. Have some understanding, too. Understand that just as you can find my video offensive, I found his video offensive. I find what he said offensive. I hope I don't lose many friends over this, but seriously, don't act as if what you say and do is not offensive to other people. Beliefs and words, once again, have effects and have meaning and can hurt. And on the idea of best of intentions, the Wizard's second rule from the Sword of Truth series quite clearly states, the best of intentions can have the most dire of consequences. And this is true. How many people were tormented? How many Christians saw Greg's video that are now tormented because they liked Cardinal and believe that he's in hell? And if he isn't in hell, and if there is nothing after death, they are being tormented for nothing. Nothing is accomplished from this. Sincere beliefs do not excuse the harm they do, particularly if they could be wrong. You think they're not wrong? Fine. The rest of us do. So don't try to act as if you believing he's in hell somehow is excused because you believe it's true. It's not.